In this Quick IQ tutorial, we'll see how to set up remote data access from SQL Anywhere 17 to Adaptive Server Enterprise 15.7. Prerequisites include the installation of the Adaptive Server Enterprise or DBC driver and Open Client connectivity on the SQL Anywhere server machine. We'll see how to create a remote server, a proxy table, and how to query the remote database. In this tutorial, SQL Anywhere is installed on Windows. Let's start opening SQL Central and clicking on Tools. We want to open the ODBC administrator to configure a connection to Adaptive Server Enterprise. Let's add a new user DSN and select Adaptive Server Enterprise in the list of drivers. Enter a data source name and then enter the Adaptive Server Enterprise host name. In this tutorial, Adaptive Server Enterprise is running on a different machine. Specify the server port number, the database name, and the user ID. And finally, test the connection. We need to enter the password and click OK. Now that we have created a user DSN, we can go back to SQL Central and connect to a SQL Anywhere database. Select the SQL Anywhere 17 plugin. And the password. By default, the password of DBA is SQL. And I have chosen to connect to the SQL Anywhere 17 demo database. The SQL Anywhere 17 demo database is part of a typical installation of SQL Anywhere. Once connected to the database, select Remote Servers. Then right-click on the central pane and select New Remote Server. This opens the Create Remote Server wizard. Choose a name for your remote server. Select SAP Adaptive Server Enterprise. And in the connection information page, it is sufficient to specify the name of a user DSN we created before. Optionally, you can make this remote server a read-only data source. While it's important to create an external login. Enter the login name to connect to your Adaptive Server Enterprise database and the password. Now we can test the connection. And this is the SQL code that is executed to create the remote server. In the left pane of SQL Central, we can select Tables. Right-click on it and then New Proxy Table. Let's select the remote server we have created. And optionally, we can specify the name of a remote database. A list of tables is retrieved from the remote database, and we can select one of them, for example, and we can name the proxy table. We can select the columns that we want. By default, all columns are selected. And this is the SQL statement that is executed to create the proxy table. Note that the proxy table is in the list of tables, and we can right-click on it. And then select View Data in Interactive SQL. Interactive SQL opens and retrieves all data from the table in Adaptive Server Enterprise. Those data are used to populate our proxy table. We can exit from Interactive SQL. Let's see an alternative for creating a remote server. We are using the same Create Remote Server wizard that we used previously. But this time we are not going to use the ODBC user DSN as before. Instead, we specify the driver, that is Adaptive Server Enterprise, the server, that is our ASE Adaptive Server Enterprise hostname, the port number, and the database name. Instead, we specify the driver, that is Adaptive Server Enterprise, the server, that is our ASE Adaptive Server Enterprise hostname, the port number, and the database name. Let's select the new remote server we have just created. We can now create a proxy table. An alternative way for creating a proxy table is to select the Proxy Tables tab and right-click in the central pane of SQL Central to start the Create Proxy Table wizard. Let's select the new remote server. Let's select the table authors, and let's name the proxy table authors underscore proxy. This time we want to select a few columns, namely AU underscore ID, AU underscore L name, AU underscore F name, and finally phone. Then just click Next. And we can review the SQL code for creating the proxy table before clicking on the Finish button. Now our proxy table has been created. And we can open Interactive SQL to view the data in the proxy table.